Welcome. So this video is going to be a little bit controversial. So if you don't like getting triggered, or you are easily triggered by subjects that address things that make you uncomfortable in regard to your behavior, your thinking, if you struggle looking at how your behavior makes you feel guilty, this video is not for you. So tune out now, keep scrolling, just go back to your business if you are belonging to that category. But if you are brave enough to dive deep into what makes people behave in a certain way and what it really means to have these conditions, ADHD, narcissism, or avoidant attachment style, if you really want to see what's your version of that, what's driving the behavior in your friends, in your family members, people around you, then stay tuned, because this is going to be a little bit deeper than most videos you find on Facebook or YouTube, because I am approaching this from a perspective you don't really hear anywhere else. As you probably noticed, if you go online and you look for videos about avoidant attachment style, there's a lot of commenters, a lot of people saying that there's a lot of similarities between narcissism and avoidance, and they often even equate narcissism with avoidance. And of course, that's not true. It's not the same. But there's a reason why people say that it's similar. So I'm going to actually validate that perspective, while at the same time recognizing and acknowledging that these things are separate things. Okay, if you have narcissism, you're lost. Like, there's basically no hope. If you have avoidance, there's lots of hope. There's lots of things you can do. But what drives the behaviors between both conditions, I have to say, is essentially exactly the same. Exactly the same. So if somebody is gaslighting you, questioning your reality, or they're an avoidant or a narcissist, the reasons why they're doing it are the same. And this is where you will find me disagreeing with almost everybody else. Because most people who do YouTube videos, when they talk about this, they say, oh no, but the avoidant, they lie to you because they don't have any bad intentions. They just want to be safe. They just try to control the relationship. While failing to realize the reasons why they're doing it are the same reason why narcissists are doing it. Because there is this big myth that narcissists are lying and gaslighting because it's intentional. Like, they're consciously choosing to lie. That is not the reason why they lie. Now, they do consciously choose to lie, that is true, but it's not why they're lying. Do you understand the difference? Like, I can choose to move my head to the left, but just because I'm choosing to move my head to the left or to the right doesn't mean that that's why I'm doing it, because I'm choosing it. Like, that's not an explanation. That's not a reason why somebody does something. The reason why narcissists lie is because they feel safe in lying. Okay? The lie feels safe. Safety means control. Control means I know what's going to happen next is going to be good for me. Or I predict that it's going to be good. Even if it's going to be bad, it doesn't matter. This is the best I can do. So narcissist believes unconsciously lying is the best thing they can do. And that's why they lie. And avoidance have exactly the same belief. Exactly the same. When you have avoidant attachment style, your subconscious mind believes that telling the truth is dangerous. Being authentic is so detrimental to your survival that you have to avoid it at all costs. And of course, how rigid you are, how much you are avoiding the truth, how much you are lying, depends 100% on how much fear you have. And of course, the narcissist has a lot of fear. But while not every narcissist is the same in amounts of fear that they have, in amounts of rigidity that they have, not every avoidant is the same. But it's always fear driving the behavior in both cases. Okay, so this is why we need to move away from this mythology that we created about narcissists being this strange human who is just choosing to be bad. No, nobody chooses anything. Now you can take responsibility for what you're doing, you can change your behavior, but you don't choose to sabotage your relationships. You don't choose to create situations that are bad no matter how you look at it. You choose to lie because you feel triggered, because you need to lie, you have to. It's a compulsion. So this compulsion is so strong in narcissists that no matter what you say, no matter what you do, they won't stop doing it. It's too rigid. And because it's so rigid, you feel like you're talking to a wall. That is literally what a wall means, a rigid barrier. So rigidity in the personality equals narcissism. You could say that. Likewise, avoidants are extremely rigid because their behavior is extremely predictable, follows the same script, the same formula. You can go online, you can look up any video about avoidant attachment style, and you will find they're all pretty much following the same rule book. So they attach to you, they come to you, they charm you, they people please to get you to like them. And the moment you try to get closer, they run away. And the moment you walk away, they run after you. This is called a rigid behavior, a rigid compulsion, a repetition compulsion, okay? So narcissists have a repetition compulsion, which makes them rigid, which is why they're narcissists in the first place. And avoidants have a repetition compulsion, which makes them rigid, which is why they're avoidants. So do you see how it's the same, but the degree is different? So of course, let's say you have an avoidant avoiding emotions, avoiding authenticity, avoiding conflict, avoiding anything that he cannot control, avoiding anything that you are in control of. Okay. And the narcissist is just a more extreme version of that. Because not only does the narcissist avoid giving you control, but the narcissist intentionally creates an environment in which you have as little control as possible. Okay? Because your control is so scary, so threatening, the narcissist has to use a lot of energy to keep you there, to keep you stuck. While the avoidant doesn't need it as much. Think of somebody who needs you to stick around and to put up with their behavior. That means somebody who believes that the behavior is unacceptable, but they need you to accept it. How are they going to do it? Well, they just convince you that they are right and that you are wrong. So that's what narcissists do, right? They gaslight. You are wrong, I am right, my reality is true, your reality is false. That's it, basically, right? How is this different from avoidance? It's not. Because avoidance do the same thing. They tell you you're needy, you're clingy, you want too much, you need too much. Why do they say this? Because then it means if you want something and they don't give it, they will lose control if you say it's not good enough for me. I can't get what I want here, so I'm going to go somewhere else. They know this unconsciously. So they say, well, you want too much. Stop wanting so much, and then you will stick around and allow me not to give you what you want. But why do avoidance not give you what you want? Is because It requires them to give up control. It requires them to meet your expectations. It requires them to have empathy and actually fulfill your demands. And that's something avoidance cannot do because they associate your demands, your needs, with them losing control, which is correct. They, of course, right? If you have two people with each other in a relationship, the very fact that somebody has needs means the other person can't control that. Like, you can't control that I need something from you, but you can control whether you will give it to me or not. But if you know that you won't give it to me, you will just convince me that I'm wrong, so that I stay. And that's what avoidance do. And the reason why they do this is the same reason why narcissists gaslight you, out of fear. They are afraid that if they need something, you won't be there. So when you need something and they are not there, the reason why they're not there is because they feel that they can't give it to you because they're not good enough. Simple. They're not good enough. Because to need me means I serve some kind of utility. So I serve utility, but if I believe that I don't serve enough utility, then I believe that whatever you want or need from me is more than I can give. So because I believe that, there is nothing I can do to keep you around. The only way I can keep you around is by gaslighting you, by manipulating you. This is how it is. This is about beliefs, okay? The narcissist avoidant has the same beliefs around relationships. They're identical for the most part, for the core part. Of course, there's different variations in behavior, but the core is the same. I'm not good enough, so if you want something, it's only a matter of time that you can figure out that I won't give it to you. So I'm going to jump into the relationship already at the beginning, assuming from the start, before I even talk to you, I already know that I have to do more than I naturally give. Because the avoidant believes whatever they naturally give, whoever they really are, their authentic self, is just not good enough for you. It's never going to be good enough for you. So the only thing that feels good enough for the avoidant is the same as for the narcissist, which is a false self, a mask. So this is the core understanding, okay? So once you understand this, everything is much more simple. So you don't need to understand all this pathologizing, the behaviors. You don't need to understand what they're doing or how it looks like. All you need to know is being true, being a real person is not good enough. And this is in charge of all the behavior. If I believe I am not good enough, I'm going to lie all the time. Because if I don't lie, I'm not good enough. So you will leave me, I will be alone, and I don't get what I want. Me being real, I don't get what I want. That is what the narcissist and the avoidant believes. Just the narcissist has a more extreme version of that. More extreme how? Let's give it like an example. Well, the narcissist believes it so strongly that the narcissist must control you more, must control your perception more. Like, imagine you build a fortress, but the fortress has to be super large, super big, super strong, like double-walled, triple-walled. So nobody can come in. That's a narcissist. But the avoidant also builds a fortress, but instead of being triple-walled, it's only double-walled. So there's still a way to come in, but I mean, you're not really coming in, right? It's just a smaller castle. So there is less behaviors that are controlling. That's all. That is all. If you really understand this, what I'm saying, you're not going to look at it as if narcissism and avoidance is something different. It's not different. It's not different. It's just more extreme. The more fear I have, the more rigid I am. So let's make a little list. So these are the signs or the traits that ADHD, avoidance, and narcissism all have at the same time completely. Okay, they have all this completely. 9 traits. First, frontal lobe damage. Okay, this is the most important one. Because the frontal lobe controls your sense of identity, your perception of reality, your higher brain functions. And this is impeded or restricted or blocked by fear. Okay, this is the Aries point. This is the point of courage in the person. Is what the Hindus call the seat of the soul. So the seat of the soul is blocked by fear. Okay, this is very basic information to understand. And this is blocked or damaged in ADHD, avoidance, and narcissism. Why? Because if you fear that you're not good enough, that means you fear people will leave you every time that you are just yourself. So therefore, to avoid being yourself, you have to use a lot of brain power. And all of that brain power has to go somewhere. And it is not going into the frontal lobe. It is actually going into the back of the brain, which is the reptile brain, which controls flight, fight, fawn, and freeze. So to mask or hide a behavior is tied to the freeze response. Okay, so avoiding what it looks like flying away, running away, is also a freeze response, it's a shutdown. I'm going to hide. You don't see me. I'm not here. That means my soul is not in the front. The third eye, the forefront is not there. The energy does not go there. So it's shut down. Therefore, like an ADHD, the person cannot focus properly. So this is number one. This is so important because if you try to use logic or reason to talk to somebody whose reason center is blocked by fear, they're going to listen to their fear. They're not going to listen to you. Number 2, avoidance. So avoidance is the basic trait that combines all of this behavior. If I'm afraid of something, I'm going to run away from it. That is the essence of avoidance. But what they run away from is avoiding feelings that are negative. Okay? Why? Because the trigger of you leaving makes them feel it's their fault. Oh, you leave, it's my fault. If it's my fault, that means I feel shame. So avoidance is built on shame. What is narcissism built on? Shame. You can Google it for 2 minutes. What's narcissism? Narcissism and shame. And you will find like hundreds of articles, if not thousands, about how narcissism is based on shame. Okay? So avoidance means I'm not good enough for you. I don't want to feel that, which means shame. So I run away. I mean, this is as simple as it gets, okay? Number 3, severe insecurity. And shame down-regulates the self-identity and creates a toxic self-image. So if I believe that my true self is bad, that means whatever I project outward is not me. But if I feel like there's a sense, a nagging feeling that what I'm projecting outwards, this mask, is not real. There's inconsistency in my personality. You know, hot and cold behavior. I come in hard, and when I disappear, it's an inconsistent behavior. Because the false self is shutting the true self down. The true self wants to come out so badly. It's been trapped so long, the person love bombs you. The person comes in hard. But this doesn't last. It's like a flame that quickly burns out. So the person sees themselves loving you, But the false self says, don't love them, it's dangerous. They will see that you're not good enough. Hide. So then they hide. But because they hide so much, because they run away so much, how you look at yourself is based on your behavior. If I behave in a specific way, in a very predictable way, all the time, over and over and over again, like a robot, I'm going to see myself as that thing. So therefore, the avoidant sees that they are running away. They see themselves as being inconsistent, as being unstable. They know that they are doing this, okay? And because they know this, they will tell you, I can't commit right now. I can't commit to you. I'm afraid of commitment. This is too much for me, too much responsibility. I need more freedom. They know that their false self requires them to not be committed to you, okay, to pull away all the time. So because they know this, they say, oh, I'm just a free person. I'm just independent. So they create a false self-image to justify or rationalize the false self. So this is how avoidance and narcissists are actually manipulating themselves to believe that they are doing something real, something honest, something good by not committing to you, because they're doing you a favor, right? Like, I'm not going to commit to you. I'm not going to go too deep with you because I'm just going to leave you. So therefore, that makes me a good person. So then you have the next thing, 4, ego instability, lack of healthy ego. So people say, oh, narcissists have so much ego. But there's no ego. Ego means I have a sense of self and I'm going to assert that. But they don't have that. They have a false self, a false ego that asserts itself against them, and they can't do nothing about it. Imagine you're a spectator. You're observing yourself in a cell, and you're knocking at the cell door, screaming, please open the door, please let me out. And you can't. That's a narcissist. Okay, a narcissist is in a cell, not able to come out, because they lack the strength, they lack the ego to be a real person, to be themselves, to free themselves from the fantasy. Well, that is exactly one-to-one what happens in the avoidant attachment style. The avoidance is in a shell, in a high-functioning freeze response, to hide from you by not committing to you, by not giving you what you need, by not giving you what you want, by not being present for you, not being emotionally available to you, because they feel safe in the cell and they have an inner conflict. They want to open up to you. They want to come to you. That's why they sometimes come and sometimes go, hot and cold, because they want to be free, but they can't. They feel they can't because their ego is not made up. They go with the flow. That means they don't have a flow of their own. They're going with whatever they're feeling, their false self, their anxiety, their insecurity, their shame is telling them to do. If you are in a cell and the warden tells you, now you can come out, now you can eat, and now you have to go back to the cell, and now you can eat, and now you go back to the cell, and you listen to the warden in a predictable, robotic manner every single day, the same thing over and over again, textbook behavior is what it's called, you are in the exact one-on-one, no discussion, same situation as a narcissist, same thing, identical, okay? So when that is the case, you don't have an ego. But you look like you have an ego because you're acting grandiose, you're doing risky behaviors, maybe you're being very flamboyant or very charming. So it gives the appearance that you are grander and bigger than you are, to hide the fact that you are living in a cell. Why? Because if you don't hide that you are living in a cell, it creates shame. If somebody can see that I am hiding myself in a cell while they are being free and they're like, ha ha ha, everything's great, and I'm not going to reveal it to them. Because who would want to be around somebody who's constantly a downer, constantly negative, constantly scared, constantly hiding, constantly masking, never allow themselves to take any risk, to be vulnerable. Who's going to stay around that? Nobody. So this is why they are hiding this. They are aware of this. Okay. They know that this is happening. They can sense it because it's always there, all the time. This is not about relationship attachment style. That's what we call it, right? Attachment style. No, no, no. It has nothing to do with the style of how you behave in relationships. It's who you are. Who you are at the core, which is a slave, a prisoner in a cell, which is a warden observing, watching as you do your course, your chores, your habits, your routine daily. You do the same thing in every relationship. You do the same thing all the time like a robot, because to be in the robot matrix is to be safe, is to know what's going to happen next. It's always the same outcome. Everybody leaves me, but I did everything I could to maintain the illusion of control, to maintain the routine by always reacting in the same predictable manner. This is what is called unhealthy or lack of ego, negative ego. So this is a false self, okay? So number 4. Now for number 5, I say that the ego here is replaced by a grandiose false self that masks itself to hide shame. So it has to hide all of this up. Everything I just told you, it has to hide that to make sure you never find out that this is happening. This is crucial because an abuser, somebody who needs you to stick around, to use you, has to make sure you never find out that this is really happening. So they have to gaslight you. They have to manipulate you. The only alternative is to tell you the truth, which means to take responsibility and stop being a prisoner, which is just not going to happen. As long as you have an avoidant attachment style, as long as you have narcissism, as long as you have these conditions, you are in the cell. This is your comfort zone. You love the cell. You worship the cell. The cell is your power. It gives you a sense of autonomy, that you can do something. You can prevent people from leaving you because you believe they will leave you no matter what. But in the cell, there's a chance. In the cell, there's this very tiny, small chance that they are going to stick around. If they believe your fantasy, that you are good enough, when of course all your behavior shows you that you're absolutely not. But it's your behavior that shows you that you're not. Of course you're good enough. But if you stop behaving a false self, you would be. But you can't, because you don't trust it. You don't have faith. So that means, which leads me to my next point, avoidants have no faith. Narcissists have no faith. They don't believe in themselves. So they have to lie and pretend that they are believing in themselves rigidly. Okay, if I never believe in myself, if I always feel that I'm wrong, this is intolerable. I can't stand that. I can't tolerate that. So I will just say, I'm always right. I don't care what the facts are. I don't care what you say. I don't care what you feel. I'm just right, automatically. Because if I have to look at the thing that I'm wrong about, it challenges the cell. It means something about the cell is wrong. And because the avoidant identifies with being the prisoner, because he identifies, I am that prisoner, that is my true self. This is my power, my control. This is good. While my true self, actual true self, which is beyond the self, is bad. Okay? So anyways, faith is a big thing, yeah. So next point, number 6. There is an equation, a magical mathematical formula, how you can explain this behavior to understand this better. So I put it in a little framework for you. The more you mask, the more fake you are, the more you lie, the more you manipulate, the more frontal lobe damage you have. You cannot lie in the world without karmic consequences. Karmic consequence isn't people delivering you justice. No, that's not how it works, karma. You think something bad is going to happen to the narcissist, that is not karma. The karma is, I do something that is not me. And because I'm not me, the body part that is representing the me is shut down. Simple. Right? It's like everything that you are, every part of your personality is tied to something in your body. So as in your mind is in your body, as in your body is in your mind. So frontal lobe damage equals being masking. This is why you see masking a lot in ADHD. Because ADHD is about frontal lobe damage. It's about the frontal lobe not being at full capacity because it is preoccupied with anxiety. The more masking, the more frontal lobe damage. The more frontal lobe damage, the more anxiety. The more anxiety, the more fear. The more fear, the stronger or more rigid the personality. The more rigid, the more fake. Simple. If I am rigid, that means I am premeditating. I am pre-planning. I'm pre-structuring how I'm going to behave. If everything I do is already pre-made, like from a factory, then of course it is not real. It is a statue. This is what I call a mimic. I'm mimicking behavior to appear like the real thing. Okay, I'm a narcissist. I appear like a victim. I'm an avoidant. I appear like a loving, emotionally available person who's just going with the flow. No, you're not going with the flow. You're going with a cell, but you call it the flow. So this is about hiding what the cell is by masking it. And because you're masking that you're in a cell, your body has to use a tremendous amount of energy to cover this up. Because it's so obvious that you're in the cell. All your behavior shows it, all your thinking, all your feeling, everything you do, it is permeating, radiating from your being, projected outwards, that you are a prisoner. So you have to a tremendous covering up to hide that, okay? This is why people get confused. This is why people think, oh, avoidance are narcissists. No. It's because you can see that they are hiding, but it's difficult to pinpoint it because they're so good at it. I mean, if all your energy is into hiding, if your frontal lobe is literally all the time, you have no energy, so you have no capacity to be available or to even engage much socially. This is why avoidance love to be in hermit mode all the time, self-isolate. But this is another story. So, next point. Number 8. Inability to concentrate. Okay, this goes back to the frontal lobe damage. That means if I'm not able to be in my frontal lobe, my logic center of the brain, my higher self, my true self, my logic, my reason, my justice. This is actually it, really. This is what it means. To be in the self is to be just, is to be right, is to be true. Okay, all of this is hijacked. You need to understand. Get your brain around it. So, inability to concentrate equals inability to process information. Equals being preoccupied with survival or self-preservation. So if I'm in a cell, and the whole goal of the cell is to preserve me, and all the energy goes into the cell to keep the cell going, to hide the cell on top of it, layers upon layers upon layers, I am preoccupied with image preservation and masking. So I am preoccupied with lying all the time. And lying isn't just, oh, I'm going to come to your party, but then I don't come. Lying isn't just, oh, you're being needy, but actually you're not. That is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about lying as in, I'm happy-go-lucky when I'm actually depressed. I am normal when actually I'm completely not normal. I am socially conforming and people-pleasing when actually I'm judging all of you and criticizing all of you all the time. I am calm and peaceful and meditating, and in reality I'm in complete chaos and complete anxiety all the time. I am very forgiving, very compassionate, very acceptant on the surface, When in reality, I'm full of anger, full of resentment. This is the lying I'm talking about. And this is what avoidance do all the time, 24/7. Not talking about when they talk to you. I'm talking about when they're alone in their home, in front of their computer, on their couch, doing God knows what, doing nothing. They are lying. Yes, they're lying. They're on the couch sitting there, or they're lying. Not a single word is coming out of their mouth, and they're lying. Because they can see, their consciousness is still aware that there's something not right about their life, about their relationships, about their behavior, about the fact that they're in a cell. There's something not right with that. But to admit that, it means you have to do work. That means you have to take responsibility. That means you're doing something wrong. That is what it means. But to do something wrong requires me to do something right. Requires me to step out of the cell, and I'm not going to do that. So if I'm not going to step out of the cell no matter what happens, then what is the point of self-reflection? What is the point of being aware of my flaws if I'm not going to fix them even if I know about them? That means my flaws are just causing anxiety. They are pointless. And this is where avoidance comes from. This is the core of avoidance. Are you really listening to me? Do you really understand? To be avoidant means I see no worth, no value in growing. To be a narcissist means I see no value, no point in growing. Because the cell is the best thing I can do. Why are you disturbing my cell? Why are you disturbing my self-preservation, my cocoon, my escape, my fantasy, my mask? Why are you so clingy? Why are you so needy? Why do you need me to give up what is so perfectly well curated, so convincing that I got even you fooled? That I even got myself fooled to believe that this is what I'm supposed to be doing because this is the best I can do. To believe that is to be a liar. Okay? So they're lying all the time, 24/7, even if they're not thinking anything. It is to live a lie, to permeate it from each cell of your body, to be embodied as the lie. Okay, this is avoidance. This is narcissism. If you don't understand, it is all subconscious. So the person is not even, maybe in some level they are aware, but not really. So next point. Number 9. Lack of empathy. So lack of empathy means I lack emotional capacity to hold the space for your problems. Because it means I have to go out of my cell, but I'm perfectly fine here. Why do I have to try to connect to you when that is just giving you room to reveal who I am and how I really feel? Because to have empathy requires you, by definition, to be real. It requires you to be honest about what you feel about the other person's condition. To emphasize is to feel their feelings, which is to feel your own. But to feel your own feelings, this is where the avoidance doesn't want to go. So it equals memory problems, because the feeling is the memory. I remember our good times. I remember the value you provide. I remember that you are right when I was wrong. I'm not going to look at that. It's very painful stuff. I don't want to self-reflect. So the memory itself is worthless. The past, the mistakes I made, the guilt I have, the growth that I did not do, I don't want to look at. So I don't remember that what happened before. I don't remember my childhood. I don't remember every time I said, no, I will keep in myself. This is actually, how this works. So if you're wondering why avoidance tell you, oh yeah, I had a great childhood, it was great, because they genuinely can't remember. Because remember that it was not great is to remember that they are in a cell. And the cell, there is something not good about that But they glorify the self. They put it on a pedestal. The false self is to be perfect, is to be in control, to be able to avoid abandonment. But anyways, memory problems equals object incongruence, object impermanence. This is something that narcissists struggle with because they don't attach to you. This is what avoidance also have a problem with. They can discard you at a moment's notice. They can leave at any time, pretending like you don't even exist, blindside you, without reason. They just go. Because they prioritize their cell over connecting to you. Self-preservation and protection over connection equals object impermanence. That means the past isn't real. I'm not real because I'm in a cell, so whatever is outside of the cell is not real, so bye. Whatever my introspection tells me that I'm guilty of is wrong, so all the objects that I'm supposed to care about, my growth, my relationships, my connectiveness, my freedom, real freedom, not this fake version of, oh, I can control you and then I'm free. No, or control myself, get out of the cell. All of this has to be covered up and hid, to be masked, so they don't have to confront that they are at the bottom. At the bottom of the bottom of the bottom. So far down the bottom that they feel they cannot get out of, because if they try, they're losing control. And when they lose control, they get anxiety. So the more anxiety they get, the more ego incongruence and object impermanence they have. So nothing's real. I'm in la la land. I'm in my spirituality. I'm in my toxic positivity. Everything's great. La 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 la. That's avoidance also. So attachment issues means bonding difficulties. That means they don't bond to you. They don't. You think they are. They're loving you. They're sending you good messages. They're doing things with you. But they're not bonding. Because bonding to you is to share the cell. To share the cell is to make you aware that they are in the cell. That can't happen. To bond, to merge, means the other person's feelings become our feelings. Okay, this is not about attachment. I'm not talking about, oh, they just don't, they fear losing you. This is not what it's about. Of course, at the core, but the reason why they fear losing you is because they're afraid you will figure out that they're in a cell. And nobody else talks about this. I don't see any YouTube videos about this. This is my own observation. So take it with a grain of salt. But that is what happens. If you bond to the avoidant, you will see who they really are. Frightened, frozen, trapped, hiding, all the time, 24/7, permanently. Of course, they could choose to get out of it any time, but they don't. So you see that. You see that they don't. They don't want to. Of course, their soul wants to. But they believe that this is all they know. This is this is good. Because they don't feel shame about the self. They feel shame about their true self. They don't feel shame about the false self. Everything's upside down in the world of a narcissist, in the world of the avoidant. Real is bad. Fake is good. Okay? Not looking at the past. Not looking at my emotions. Not looking at reality. Not bonding with you. Not caring about you is good things. Yes, okay? Because caring about you, looking at themselves, equals lack of safety. Equals shame. And shame equals frontal lobe damage. The frontal lobe is already shut down. But every time they feel shame, they can think even less. So when you come and you tell them, hey, why are you avoiding me? Why are you ghosting me? Can you please tell me what's going on? Can we talk? What happens? Oh, she found out but I'm in a cell, can't think anymore, feeling the shame. She found out that I'm not good enough because I don't want to come out of the cell. I don't want to be available. I don't want to be vulnerable. So what I want equals abandonment, equals rejection. If I want to be separate from you, and you know that I do want to be separate from you, then you will leave. So it's not that the avoidant doesn't bond to you in that way. They do bond. But they bond by keeping you hooked and keeping you at bay. Okay? So this is a frontal lobe damage. Because the frontal lobe isn't being used. Only the reptile brain is doing all of this. Every single behavior I just talked about is premeditated through the reptile brain. Like, think of the reptile brain kind of like a judge or a gatekeeper who's saying what happens in the behavior. Now, of course, the reptile brain is not supposed to be in charge. The reptile brain is just like a backup system or a safety mechanism to pull you back into safety if you go too much into the spiritual, if you are too honest, too real, if you are too authentic. The reptile brain says, hey, but think about the group, think about the rejection, think about the danger, to pull you back. Okay, so think of it like a balancing act. Avoidant doesn't have any balance. The reptile brain is completely in control. So therefore, the frontal lobe is like you're talking to nobody, to a wall. Because there's nobody. It's only the body. It's only the lower ego. That's all you're interacting with. So once you understand all these points, you also understand that if you talk about ADHD, and you talk about narcissism, and you talk about avoidance, you are talking about the same thing, but more extreme or less extreme. What is more extreme, ADHD or avoidance? Having avoidance doesn't necessarily mean you have ADHD, but to have ADHD means you have avoidance. Because to have frontal lobe damage requires you to be afraid. To maintain the fear is to maintain the behavior that keeps the fear confirmed. To listen to the fear, to act on the fear, is to strengthen and fortify the fear. And how you behave is what you believe. If you always mask, if you hide, if you run away, if you leave, if you freeze, you believe that this is the best you can do. On some level, even if you consciously and cognitively know that you're not supposed to hide, you're not supposed to mask, that this is not good for you, it doesn't matter. Your conscious mind is taken over by the subconscious. The subconscious is stronger unless you behave against your fear. You ignore your fear and you become real and you become authentic over and over and over and over again, despite the anxiety that is trying to keep you in the cell. So if you want to get rid of all this avoidance, you need to ignore the anxiety and commit, literally a commitment is required. This is a funny thing. Commit to being authentic. And that is something that the avoidant does not do. Narcissist does not do. And we're talking about a liar here. Talking about a lying condition. A manipulation condition is lies based. No lies, no avoidance. No lies, no narcissism. It's that simple. So, yeah, let's sum this up. Narcissism and avoidance have a grandiose false self that masks shameful emotions and behaviors by pretending that it's normal when it's actually in its cell, so you don't find out that the person is hiding from you deliberately and intentionally. Whether they are aware of it or not is completely irrelevant. That is what they are doing. That is what they identify as safety. They believe, they convince themselves that it's good to be in the cell. That's the only reason why they're doing it. You can't do something if you don't believe that it's a good thing. Right? I'm not going to do anything if I don't believe in it. It's very simple. The more severe the shame, the more rigid the personality. The more rigid the personality, the more rigid the thinking. The more rigid the thinking, the more critical and judgmental the thinking becomes. This is why avoidants are extremely hypercritical of you, of themselves, of the world. They question, they doubt everything, which seems like a good thing, right? Well, they don't doubt the cell, so how about that? No, it's not good. If you doubt something, you better be sure you have a good reason for doubting. If you doubt something just for the sake of doubting, it's useless. Like imagine I doubt that the sun rises tomorrow. Of course it's going to rise tomorrow. Even though I don't know that it's going to rise, I'm not going to doubt, oh, I think the sun will not rise tomorrow. No. It would be illogical, it would be irrational to believe the sun doesn't rise tomorrow. And yet, that is how the critical judgmental thinking of the rigid type works. The more critical and judgmental, the more insecurity and higher likelihood of blaming external flaws, external negativity on people and misfortune. So the reason why I'm depressed is not because I'm not growing. No, it's because my cell is good, but they are not rewarding my cell as much as I need them to be rewarded. So because you are a normal person and you need something from the avoidant, you want something, and the avoidant gaslights you to believe you're being clingy, you're being pushy, that means he's frustrated that you don't accept his cell, that you're not okay with it. Why can't you just accept me for who I am? Why can't you just give me space? Why can't you just let me be in the cell? Why is that cell not working? This is frustrating. But the reason why the cell is not working is not because the cell is not, there's something wrong with the cell, something wrong with you. So the avoidant looks for people who will accept the cell. Of course. So then he will find you, and you're like, oh, okay, I will give you space. No worries. And the avoidant is like, yes, my cell is working. I don't have to be real. I don't have to be vulnerable. Great. Can keep in the cell. That means the avoidant looks at you being tolerant, acceptant, agreeable, just you being a good person. The avoidant sees as a confirmation that being in the cell is good for him and true. Because all he has to do is to find somebody who accepts it, and he doesn't have to deal with it. If you believe you are trapped in a prison, you believe you have no options, you're in scarcity consciousness, you believe you are trapped, which is to believe that you cannot do anything, you are helpless. This is called learned helplessness. To believe that you are helpless is to believe that other people and the world is at fault. That means you believe there's something wrong with the world, not with you. Which, of course, is only conscious mind. On the subconscious mind, you do believe there's something wrong with you, but your true self, not your false self. The cell is good. The world resisting my cell, that's a problem. So whenever you try to criticize the avoidant behavior, the avoidant thinks he is superior. Yeah? I'm superior. My freedom, my independence, my space, my introversion is better than what you are, what you think, what you feel, whatever it is you believe. The avoidant always thinks he is superior because he is helpless. I know this is very strange. It doesn't make any sense at first. But that is how it is. Also, to be helpless means to be irritable, to be frustrated, to have unresolved anger problems. So it means the avoidant has to use a substance, alcohol or weed, to numb the emotions. It's all part of blaming others for one's own stuckness and fear of being authentic. So if I can't be stuck, if I can't be in my cell and be rewarded at the same time, then I'm going to blame you for not allowing me to be in the cell, for trying to get me out of it. There also is a fear of being authentic, which equals fear that being authentic is wrong. Being authentic threatens your survival. So the more fear of being authentic you have, equals being more rigid in your thinking, more rigid behaviors, equals getting frustrated, getting angry, because it's still the Aries point, the true self. The Aries point is ruled by Mars. The Mars principle is anger, the masculine, standing up, taking action, which the avoidant cannot do. It is completely controlled by the warden, who keeps the cell going, which is extremely frustrating. I have to control my behavior all the time. I have to mask all the time, lie all the time. Extremely frustrating. So when the avoidant gets angry that he is not getting rewarded by you for being such a liar. Yes, this is actually how it works. This is exactly as it sounds. And this is exactly how it is with narcissists as well. But narcissist gets angry that you found out that he's cheating, and then blames you for having found out that he's cheating instead of actually taking responsibility. So if the avoidant is angry that you want something, when wanting something from him is good. I mean, that's what keeps the relationship going. I should want something from you. Otherwise, I wouldn't even be here. So the ego is frustrated by the perceived helplessness and by the lack of options. If I have to behave all the time in the same way, following the same rule book, it's extremely frustrating to be avoidant. Extremely frustrating to be a narcissist. Always I have to lie. Always I have to gaslight. This takes so much energy. My frontal lobe being shut down. My thinking is not straight. I cannot look at my emotions because looking at my emotions means introspecting. Introspecting means looking at my guilt and my shame. That's very frustrating. I don't want to look at that. But all the time, my mind wants to look at that. All the time, my true self is trying to reassert itself. All the time, the world, reality, you, other people are trying to remind me to be a real person. I find that very frustrating. Very frustrating indeed, yes. So this is how it works for the avoidant. Now you can see why avoidance and narcissist are essentially identical, just different degree. Okay. So, authentic, bad. Wanting something from you, bad. Which is the basis of a relationship, to want something from a partner. Being flexible and open to new perspectives, bad. Because new perspective could mean that I have to analyze and digest and introspect on whether or not my cell is really as efficient as I believe it is. But then I have to meet my guilt and shame every time, because I will find out, inevitably, I will find out that the cell is wrong. I will. Which means that everything I've done, all the behaviors, all the times I told you you are needy, all the times I told you you are clingy, all the times I needed space from you, I was lying every single time for nothing. For nothing. That means I've wasted my entire life living a lie and not getting any reward, wasting all my energy, all my mental capital, being miserable and depressed all the time, trying to cover it up, trying to hide it, lying to people, using people, avoiding responsibility. I was doing all of that. No! Can you imagine if you have to admit that you are the literal definition of things I don't even want to say, because, it is dangerous to talk about these things openly, because society doesn't want you to realize the truth. But to be avoidant is to be an enemy of reality, to be an enemy of all that is good, to be a narcissist, an avoidant, stop pretending like these things are different. It is an irrelevant and actually quite misleading distinction that is only useful in such a fact that at least there's a chance of the avoidant to change. But the narcissist does not. And apart from that, all the other differences, negligent. I mean, irrelevant at best. Why does it matter? Why do you care if you're with a narcissist or an avoidant? What difference does it make? Nothing. But if you understand why they do this, where their behavior comes from, why they can't stop being in a cell, it's much more useful. And you no longer need a label to define. You just need to understand why they do this. Because everybody can do this. You can do this as well. You look at your version of that. Where are you hiding? Where are you a prisoner? Where have you sacrificed yourself to gain something external, knowing that should the truth ever come out, should your true self really rise to the occasion, it's going to be the end of any kind of rewards, any kind of stability that you've been holding on to, trying to preserve so much because your anxiety, your fear is taking over your frontal lobe. It's trying to shut down your brain functions, trying to get you into a brain fog, trying to get you into a haze, trying to get you distracted from being authentic. Where is your version of that? And this is how you understand. This is how you empathize. Because we all have a version of that. So therefore, being a narcissist, being an avoidant is not special. They don't have a special condition. Oh no, the poor them, they have such a difficult state to deal with. No, all deal with this. But some people choose to look the prison in the eye, to see it for what it is, to be honest about the fact that you're your own worst enemy. And it is your fault. It is 100% your fault. Of course, you didn't choose for this programming of, oh no, I need to be in a prison cell to be safe. You didn't choose this program. But you do choose what you're going to do about it. And the fact is, to be an avoidant, by definition, is to do nothing. Is to do absolutely nothing. Not worse than nothing. To lie to other people, gaslight them, to go from relationship to relationship, lying, scheming, hiding all the time, draining your own energy, feeding the loosh farm, feeding on the other person's loosh, forcing the other person, manipulating them to chase you because you need them on a hook like a dog on a leash. You need the other person to go after you because you won't go after them. And you can't let them figure out that you will never go after them, that you will never be real with them, that you never come out of yourself. You can't allow them to figure this out because you know they will stop, they will go away. You know this if you are an avoidant. Oh, but I'm unconscious, I don't know what I'm doing. Even if it was true, which is, I mean, that's scary to think about. Even if it was true and the person had no idea that they're doing all of this, does it matter? Does it make any difference? No. And does it also change the fact that if you address this with a person, let's say you show an avoidant this video, do they think they're going to say, hooray, thank you for informing me how this all works. Oh, this makes so much sense. Now I'm going to try to change this. Do you really think that's going to happen? It's never going to happen. Maybe like 1 out of 100. Why? Because the brain won't allow the guilt and the shame to be confronted. Because to be in reality is to be the guilty party. To be unable to blame external factors. To be unable to maintain the role of an observer. the role of going with the flow, the role of it's not my fault, I'm not doing anything, I'm perfect. Uh, uh, like like a zombie, like never living nor gone, just in purgatory and in a haze. Because the frontal lobe is shut down, because there is this fear of survival that's maintaining the condition. So therefore, what keeps the condition going is the very same reason why you can't reason with them. You can try, but how are you going to avoid triggering that frontal lobe shutdown? Because every time the person feels guilty, the frontal lobe is shut down. They're already gone. They're not here anymore. How are you going to have any meaningful conversation, any meaningful interaction whatsoever? Best you can do is realize this. Give up hope. Be hopeless. Abandon any kind of expectations that there's any chance for them to get better, because they don't want to. Okay? They abandoned you, they manipulated you, they neglected you because they wanted to maintain facade. They wanted to keep control. It's what they value. And actually, the tragedy is that at least that comes from their true self. Yes. How does it work? What? Yes, it's because if I am valuing safety over everything, because I've never experienced safety in my life, the less you have something, the more you want it. The avoidant soul, the narcissist soul, wants to be safe about anything. They want peace, so the frontal lobe can be free, so the stress can go away, so they no longer feel like they have to be in control. They don't like it to be in a prison cell. To be safe is to be out. But to be safe, to want to be safe, is what keeps it going. It's only when you can sacrifice safety, when you stop valuing it, that you'll actually receive it. And this is why it is difficult for them to give it up. Because in order to get the control they're looking for, the stability in relationships, the love, the acceptance, the safety, the peace of mind, the frontal lobe being open to receive, to be able to think rationally, to be able to do that, have to abandon the very thing that makes you rational, that makes you happy. It doesn't make any logical sense to do that. So they're not going to. They can, but why would they? Unless the condition becomes so intolerable, so frustrating, that they simply stop caring about safety. And this is usually when the change happens. When somebody no longer cares about control, they stop valuing it. They stop pursuing it. And as they stop pursuing it, the avoidance is gone. So that's simple. All that keeps this condition really going is desire to have control, to have safety. If you don't want safety, if you, in other words, want truth more, if you value reality more, the very thing that causes you all the anxiety, all the pain, all the stress, if you value that, you are free. So it's also about what we value, what we want, what we desire. That's why to be avoidant is to want that. I know, it's just, why would somebody want this? It's just a belief system. I believe I will be rewarded if I want control, if I keep control. surely good things will happen. And of course, we don't. So actually, this is a lesson for everyone. To understand avoidance, to understand narcissism, is to have a lesson in what it means to be in the ego, the lower ego, that is only interested in self-preservation, only interested in safety. It doesn't care about anything, doesn't care about you, only cares about your money, only cares about your reputation, only cares about your image, doesn't value anything that is not of this world. To be avoidant attached is to be attached so heavily, so severely, that you're unable to detach. And that is really the irony of this condition. To blame others for being clingy, to blame you for being pushy, needy, wanting to match, it's the avoidant that wants to match. It's the avoidant that's too clingy. The clingiest person on the planet is the one who can't let go of controlling you and your perception of reality. To be so severely clingy that I need you to manipulate you to stay. Why can't I just be real with you? Why can't I just let go? Oh, I be real, and you leave. That's fine. No, the avoidant can't do that. They can't be real, so you leave. That makes them clingy. That is the definition of being clingy. I lied to you, so you stay. That is the definition of being clingy. I avoid shame and negative emotions because I'm clinging to the false self, the false identity. It looks like I'm running away from you. It looks like I'm avoiding myself. Actually, I'm clinging to myself so hard. It goes beyond from a scale of 1 to 10. The clingiest person on the planet is the avoidant, is the narcissist. So clingy, the brain shuts down. ADHD, so attached, so in need of predictability, knowing what's going to happen next, knowing I'm going to be safe tomorrow. I need to know I am safe. Please don't threaten my bubble. Is to have a frontal lobe that is constantly under siege, easily dysregulated, easily triggered, easily I cannot think straight. Easily fear takes over. Easily I fly away and freeze. And this is annoying me. Yeah, I'm actually annoyed talking about this. Why? Because where are the people talking about this? Where are they? Do you know one person on YouTube or whatever who says this? Who explains it so simple, so basic, like you really understand what you're dealing with. So you don't need to watch more videos. So you don't need to pay a coach to advise you what to do with the avoidant. You don't need any of that stuff. Just realize what the truth is, to understand, really understand. The truth has a resonance that clicks instantly, like bam! I know this is real. Yes, I am satisfied with the answer. Satisfied completely. I don't need to keep looking. This is it. Yes, thank you, baby. I have a ground to stand on. Where is it? Because on YouTube, I don't see it anywhere with other people. How much do you think I have watched videos about avoidant attachment style myself and narcissism? Hundreds of hours. Hundreds of hours studying over and over to get these very simple answers that I'm giving you here. Yeah, I've just done the research for you, digested it, regurgitated it in a more acceptable, more satisfactory framework. The kind of satisfaction that you won't find out there, because I didn't find it. So, yeah. Hopefully, we as a society will start to value the truth more and stop valuing hive mind conformity. Oh, I hope they accept what I'm talking about. Oh, I hope this is agreeable and they immediately understand it. I don't care if you don't understand what I'm talking about. I don't care if you don't like it. And because I don't care, You actually do like it. You actually do accept what I'm saying. See how it works? Because I couldn't care less is why you like it. So this is the lesson for avoidance and narcissism. So yeah, this is how it works. Okay. So if you like this video, you enjoyed it, please give it a like, leave a subscribe or follow or favorites, whatever platform you're using to watch this. And if you're interested in my astrology services and you'd like to book a one-on-one reading with me, where you can get this level of understanding through your natal chart, through your own placements, to understand how things really work, you know where to find me. You can reach out to me through Messenger at any time. Thanks so much for watching, and see you in the next video. Bye bye.